Cody Ziegler and Michael Dowling put Spider-Man in Kraven's crosshairs as the villain kidnaps the hero, wanting to free him from the chains of his corporate overlords, the Beyond Corporation, even if it means killing him. Cody Ziegler concludes his fast-paced Kraven two-part storyline with some great ties back into the larger story that Zeb Wells, Kelly Thompson, and Jed MacKay before him are telling, delivering a rather interesting perspective on Ben's ties to the Beyond Corporation. I quite enjoyed how Kraven saw Spider-Man as a type of animal who is caged by these corporate overlords and he has to be freed in some type of way, and how he was trying to show the company is evil with the whole oil rig and everything, but Ben is still kind of on the fence about it all. And of course that kind of feels like him just bantering the villain and sort of trolling the villain a little bit like Spider-Man does. But it would be great if this confrontation is what drives him to actively begin to question what Beyond is up to and kind of look into like what they are up to, and it just very well might. Michael Dowling returns with his fantastic artwork that leans into the more trippier stuff thanks to Spider-Man being drugged for most of the issue. So we end up with these really cool, ethereal, dreamlike pages of Spider-Man fighting a flaming lion-headed Kraven, and all these great looking visions he sees of himself when he thinks that he's not the real Spider-Man and he's merely just a hollow image of the real Spider-Man and the real Peter Parker. I thought those were pretty damn cool. The Amazing Spider-Man issue 80 was yet another fantastic conclusion to a two-part story that gave us a great dose of Kraven action while also tying it directly into the overarching Beyond storyline, leaving us in an exciting position for the next issue. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. The Amazing Spider-Man issue 80 sees the drugged Ben Reilly hallucinating a monstrous version of Kraven, who says that this is the hero's great awakening and he needs to see the world as it truly is. Ben's Spidey sense goes into overdrive, but he knows to keep moving, but the moment he tries to swing away from the villain, his equilibrium gives out, causing him to fall. Kraven mocks the hero, knowing that he's losing his grace and the corporate leash attached to him has made him weak. Ben feels the roof he lands on begin to eat him up, and thanks to the drugs, he calls himself Peter, reminding himself that he is Ben Reilly, the Spider-Man. Pulling himself out of the goo, the city becomes a series of visions, showing him that he isn't Spider-Man or a man, he's a shell and a rough sketch of a greater man. Kraven tells him to drink in the burning truth and witness the baptism of his own metal so he can revert to his truest natural form, free from the shackles of his capitalist handlers. Ben's suit continues to fail him as he jumps from the building, falling unconscious as he hits the ground. Kraven finds the hero, knowing that he can make him whole again and their trial will soon begin, and only then will the hunt be renewed. Ben sees Kraven turn into a visage of Janine just before he passes out fully. At the Beyond Corporation, Marcus frantically tries to get eyes and ears on Spider-Man, since this is the third time he's ghosted him. A text says that the comms and locator weren't turned off, they went dark at the same time as the explosion at the penthouse. Marcus tells them to stay away from Maxine since they don't want her to deal with this as well, as Janine soon calls, demanding to know where Ben is. Marcus tries to make an excuse, but she isn't interested in his corporate doublespeak, knowing nerds are all over her apartment talking about a code blue. Marcus tries to remind her that when she came on board with Ben, he signed a myriad of NDAs, but Janine reminds the tech that she has done time and knows how to handle herself, so if she has to hurt him to protect the man she loves, she will. She yells at the techs working in her apartment as they frantically try and leave, while Marcus tells her that they are handling the situation that Ben is in at the moment and the best and brightest are on it, but that is what Janine is afraid of. Marcus demands some updates from his people, but they haven't got any as his phone rings again. He quickly tells Janine he will call her back with any updates, but it's not Janine, it's Maxine, who knows it's good the man will follow orders that he's expected to follow. Spider-Man meanwhile awakens, still under the effects of the toxins Kraven pumped him full of, but he finds his wounds have been cleaned and bandaged. Soon he finds some strange animal people before him, with one saying his name is Doug, and the others are Adaobi and Basir. Glad to see the hero is awake. The monster people, however, aren't monsters, and are revealed to just be normal people that Ben is hallucinating over. People who all worked for the Beyond Corp before being kidnapped. As Ben begins seeing them as giant animals again, Doug thinks he has something to help with the toxin, offering him some pills they were developing that were meant to cure all migraines and head colds, but they have been taking them as hangover cures. Ben takes the pills as Kraven's voice says that the spider has found his offering, wanting the hero to join him nearby. Leaving through a door, Ben finds that they are out in the middle of the ocean on a Beyond Corporation oil rig, as Kraven tells him the company has sullied the hero's worthiness for his gift, and the weakness Spider-Man has now reflects on him. Kraven attacks as Ben jumps out of the way, wanting the villain to stop it with the ambushes and just talk it out instead. Kraven reveals that the rig belongs to the Beyond Corporation and it's being used to destroy nature and destroy the soul of man, hoping his flames spoke these truths to him. Ben knows that the company does have their issues, but who doesn't, and at least they don't kill people. Kraven throws Spider-Man down the giant hole in the middle of the rig, but the hero webs Kraven, pulling him down as well as the villain proclaims that he will make sure he has not lost his way. Spider-Man slams Kraven into the platform below as the villain knows that in the belly of the technological perversion they both shall be remade whole. Ben tells the villain he did indeed wake some nightmares in him, but his new friend Doug helped him out with some pills and now he's feeling normal. Shocked Kraven even can stand after a fall from that height. The villain says that his spirit isn't broken so easily, which is why he brought Spider-Man to this place, thanks to what it represents. He demands to know who holds Spider-Man's leash now, as Ben beats down the villain, telling him he chose to be his own Spider-Man, and if all it takes to hurt the great warrior's spirit is a cup of algae and a cell phone, maybe he's not the fearsome hunter he thought he was. Ben kicks Kraven into the pool of algae nearby as the villain sets off a bomb, knowing that he will not be tamed. The villain blows himself up, but Ben knows this won't be the last he sees of Kraven the Hunter, as he calls for Doug, hoping he can find a way to contact dry land for a ride, since he's going to take a little breather. Janine meanwhile tries to contact Marcus when Ben returns home, telling her about the battle with Kraven, but he knows the only thing scarier than facing death is putting Janine in a bad mood, which is why when it comes to choosing between those two, he chooses her. Marcus and his team run to come and see Ben, wanting him checked over as they take him from Janine. Ben wants to know how much trouble he's in, so Marcus says that Maxine wasn't too pleased the hero went off grid willingly, but then they found out that Kraven had managed to take him, so he managed to spin it so that Ben won't be in so much trouble. Marcus takes his leave to make a phone call as Ben is patched up by the medics. Marcus talks with Maxine, who isn't too pleased Marcus wants to give Ben a week off. Danger wonders if maybe they need to have a hard reboot on this project, but that's the nuclear option and might be a touch dramatic. Marcus thanks her for not doing that as the woman hangs up, getting back to her meeting, discussing with her people about what they are going to do about the Brooklyn Spider-Man Miles Morales. Across town, Aunt May has managed to get the number of Dr. Burdick, wanting to know how Peter isn't getting any better. The doctor doesn't know how she managed to get this number, but she says that she used to raise a teenage boy, so she's learnt some tricks. The doctor explains that Peter has a specific illness and one they don't have a lot of data with, and without that information they are flying blind. May knows that she can get them what they need as she enters the diner, meeting with Dr. Otto Octavius, who gives the woman some flowers. May gets right to it, telling him she needs his help since Peter is very sick and only his brain can help him and find the information the doctors need to help save Peter's life. Otto is glad to help, knowing before they start he'll need to go and grab his work suit.